I was born on a Tibetan plateau in Qinghai province. It was ruled by a warlord, a really nasty guy. And my dad worked for him. He ran the agriculture department. He vaccinated mostly cows and horses and yaks, and he was very popular. And the people loved my dad because the vaccine saved lots of animals. And the communists, when they won in China, they sent a secret agent to Qinghai to talk to my dad, told him he would have his job, his personnel, nobody will be touched, and asked him to stay. But my dad's brother told him, if they find a replacement for you, they're going to kill you, so you better leave. So my dad hem and hawed, and he told my mother to take the kids and go off to Hong Kong. And then he came later. A few days later, he came. From there, my dad got a permission to immigrate to Malaysia. He was offered a job and a citizenship, and my mom said, no, we're going to move to America. So we spent 9 years getting the rights to move to America. My mother would not give up, and we made it. And my mom's is amazing. She's illiterate. She can't read, but she tells my dad what to do, and we did really well as a family. And I grew up in Southern California, and went to school at Cal Poly and Cal State LA. Got my degree in physics, and met my wife at Cal State LA. I love to go backpacking. And I wanted to be in the mountains and deserts, and asked my wife to take a job in China Lake. And she really opposed it, because she got a job at Southern California. She got a job in Washington, D.C., and I asked her to move to the desert so I go backpacking. and when we got here, first thing that happened was, just a month later or something, I sold some paintings. I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I kept backpacking and painting, and I thought, boy, they're paying me to go have fun. So I go out in the desert and paint. I go out backpacking and paint. I go skiing and paint, and it was all profitable. I thought, wow, I don't make much, but this is great. And as we got established here, I started to do really well, and I got established in LA with an agent, and things were working really well. And my wife decided to move to Michigan, because she was offered a job at Ford. She didn't apply for a job, but they asked her, do you want to come work for us? So I said, okay, let's try it. I tried it, and at first I was depressed, but it turns out I had a good time in Michigan, and I learned all these skills. I became eventually I became a professor at a college, which is amazing for me. I couldn't believe it. But from there we moved to Washington, D.C., where my wife took a job with the Bureau of Printing and Engraving, and I got a job at Prince George's Community College, and I got established. And I was having a good time again. So in Michigan and Washington, I was mostly an art teacher. And it was very satisfying, especially at the college level. We teach the kids, and especially when your student gets a big scholarship, it feels really good. 2015, we had to leave because my wife's health was doing badly, and we moved to the Bay Area, and there things worked out again. We moved into this town, Vallejo. Right in that town is a big cancer center, and my wife, I could drive her there almost sometimes every day, and things worked out pretty well. And I got an agent, and the best agent in my life. Things just keep working out, and that's a timeline of my life. Things always work out. The title of this show is a little bit of many things, because I did many things in art. I drew, I painted landscape, I did cityscapes, I did magazine covers, I did book covers, I did pastels, I did acrylic, oil. I tried every medium because I was an art teacher and I had to teach these mediums. And if they needed me to teach something, I taught it. And when you teach it, you learn it. And I learned lots of things from my students. And especially when I was teaching them, I was teaching myself. In this show, I wanted to show that I went through many learning processes. I learned how to draw. I learned how to use different mediums. I want to show lots of places I've been to and subject matters. And even in landscape, there's many different kinds of landscape, different subjects, different mediums. And I want to show all these things I did and my experiences after I left Ridgecrest. Because in Ridgecrest, I was basically a landscape painter. And I painted the Sierras and a desert. And I never sketched people. I didn't draw much, but I painted. But when I moved away, I decided to make myself a draftsman. And I really admired the old-time artists like Degas and Manet and, well, even Picasso. They're just fabulous draftsmen. And I tried to be more like them. And so I started drawing. And from drawing, I learned many things. And I've learned the importance of lines and values and how you use these values. And it's actually incorporated into all my landscapes. And how I draw people and animals. And these things affect my landscapes. So even though I'm in California, I'm known as a landscape painter. Back in Michigan, I was known as a portrait and cities artist. So a painting is it usually has colors, and it's more defined. It's not a quick response to what you see. A drawing happens to be a very quick response to what you see. Even a big drawing like the Shenandoah's Matthew Arms, it's just trees, but it's a response. I looked at the scene and I drew it. The big drawing was drawn right on location. But the paintings, in my definition, has color and has it represents the place more exactly as you see it. Whereas a drawing, it's a representation of, it gives you an idea what the place is. But if you look at a drawing and you look at the scene, it's two different things. They're not that related, but they're one influences the other. Whereas in a painting, it looks more similar to my mind. When I do the big outdoor drawings, it's mostly done outdoors, but I do touch it up a little later because I look at the drawing and I say, oh, that needs a little touched up here, or a little bit of racing. I did too much there. I touch it up a little, but I tend to leave it alone because I kill a lot of piece of artwork by overworking, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to go backwards on a drawing. It's just it's supposed to look spontaneous, like my drawings of my wife at the doctor's office. It's spontaneous. It's done like that. There's imperfections, but those imperfections make it a drawing and make it wonderful to me. The drawings, I'm actually able to convey more emotion and more feelings, and I can capture my wife's sadness and worries on a drawing very easily. And I can capture the happiness of the musicians and especially street musicians when money's dropping into their bucket. If they're not happy, I put $1 in there and they smile and play. and I could put another $1 in and ask them to play a song for my wife, and mix it like a date, and it only cost me like $2 to have a nice date. So, and they're happy, and I'm happy drawing them. And the musicians, street musicians, are stuck there playing their music, and they can't move away. They don't complain about me, because I'm drawing a crowd too for them. So we help each other out, and I have a good time. So the drawings come up happy, and it's fun. So some musician drawings are fun, and some drawings, people drawings are happy, but some that I really like have other emotions, like sadness or fear or these things. It comes through in a drawing. And when you paint it, you lose some of that spontaneity. So I like drawings for that reason. And I especially like pencil drawings because it's so quick and easy. And it looks really good sometimes. Of course, it looks very bad sometimes, but you take the good and forget the bad. Whereas painting, you just keep, work till it's good. Well, if you look at all these paintings, the ones with the color, it looks a lot more refined than in the drawings. Like the self-portrait, I sat in the bathroom and 2 hours, I have this nice piece of work. It's hard to do that with a painting. In the past, the shows at the Matarango had a theme, more of a theme where it was landscape, or this landscape and that landscape. I would sneak a few drawings in, but I always wanted to show my drawings and show how things are related, how the drawings and the paintings are related, and how it helps each other. And just like my drawings of the store window scenes, with the displays, I take the drawings and turn it into something else. I actually refine it a bit nowadays. That's where the paintings influence the drawings. So some drawings are influenced by the paintings, and some paintings are influenced by the drawings. The paintings, some of the paintings, if you look closely, would have drawing lines in them. I take a pen and draw into the watercolor. And the pastels would have sometimes have lines in them, very important lines to make the definition. Instead of using just values, I use lines. That's what Picasso did. He did these great, beautiful paintings, but they had a lot of lines in them. I thought, I got to do this too. Okay, I was in China visiting my relatives, and I started drawing the relatives. I would make quick drawings and hand them out to relatives. And my cousin was a little bit upset that all I did was draw. And I liked it. I didn't mind drawing all these relatives. I got to talk to them. And he says to me, we were going to this banquet, and he said, don't bring your art stuff today. Today you do something different. So I'm at this banquet with my relatives in this big restaurant, and one little girl came up to me and said, she's a very young girl, and she says, Grandpa. The Chinese people are very polite. They call older people Grandpa. I must look really old. And she said, Grandpa, can you make a drawing of me? And I said, oh, I didn't bring any drawing stuff. The little girl says, I brought it. And so I had to draw. Even though I was planning not to draw, I ended up drawing all the relatives again. So I did all these drawings, and my relatives really liked it. And the funny thing about going to China was my mom said to me, oh, don't bring your paintings. They don't want your paintings. Bring money. Give them money. Well, it turns out they didn't want money. They were fine. They wanted my drawings and my paintings. I brought about 30 paintings with me to hand out. I ran out right away, and everybody wanted paintings. So I had to paint some more and give it to them, and I had to paint all these portraits and give it to them. I had a grand time. Everywhere I go, I carry my art stuff. I carry at least a sketchbook and pencils. Like when I went to China, I brought my watercolor. I brought paper. I thought I brought everything I need, but I ran out. I used it all up, and we had to go buy some more. And they knew where to get it. They went out and bought it for me and brought it to me and said, well, keep working. So people find my work entertaining, which is good. Especially when I was living in Ann Arbor, I would go out and paint the street scenes, and I became known. So people enjoyed come up and talking to me. And once I was sitting there doing my artwork, and one kid yelled, I can hear this kid saying, "Mom, there's my teacher." And they came by and talked to me, and it's just lots of fun. Art is fun. I'm known as a landscape painter mostly, and to do landscape, I carry my supplies with me, and I'm prepared to do a painting all the time. When I go out, I paint, and sometimes I carry pastel, sometimes I carry watercolor, and sometimes I carry both, depending on whether it's backpacking, car camping, or lodging. So if I lodge, I bring everything. But if I backpack, it's usually watercolor. It turns out pastel doesn't work for backpacking very well because you have to spray it and you have to keep the things from bouncing, and you just ruin your drawing by walking with this painting on your backpack. It's hard to keep it not messed up. So it depends on what I do, and I really hope to make a painting on the spot and get it done, because I want to get it over with and go to the next job. and most of the time I keep an eye open. I look for things that's a little bit unusual and interesting, and I look for something that would make the viewer think about, oh, what's it like? Where's that? Or make them think about something. Doesn't matter what. But I do have commissions that I have to do. There, I have a preconception of what I want to find, and I look for it. And those are harder because I'm not free to do whatever I want. And I really like just go out and draw, and it would be a lot easier. I draw with inks outdoors sometime, and that's fun. And, I carry my phone with me, my smartphone, and I take a picture of what I'm painting, and I use that to help finish a painting. Because these big paintings that I do, some of them are really large, and it's hard to do it from a little sketch. And the sketch is really important because it has the colors I want to use. Because I see a color outdoors, and the medium has a limit on what colors it could produce. If you can do it in a sketch, you use that color in the redo of the painting. I follow the sketch more than I follow the photograph because it's easier that way. Because you want to simplify what you see and change it in ways that make sense in the painting. And the goal is to make a painting that looks better than a photograph always. When I make a sketch, it's actually a quick impression of what I see. And it could be a full-blown painting, but it's small, like the three of them on that wall right there. They're all sketches. Yeah, the three small ones are sketches. They're done on location, and they weren't even touched. Two of them weren't even touched much at home. Those are really successful paintings. The bigger ones has to be done for smaller sketches. I can't carry big papers, and it's just and light changes too quickly outdoors, so you can't do it. But the sketch my sketch records essential information, and if it looks really good and doable, I finish it. My most common commissions when I lived in Ridgecrest a long time ago, it was different places that they like. And then I moved to Michigan, the commissions were mostly kids, people's children, and a few things like their favorite tree or their favorite place, and I go paint it. It could be a few landscapes. And in Alexandria, the commissions was mostly landscape. I didn't do any people commissions there. That's strange. And nowadays, it's all landscapes. My agent, he sells my landscape mostly, and almost nothing else. And he has collectors, and he knows what they're buying, and he tells me what to paint, and I trust him. It's a good way to go. I did a lot of musicians in Washington, D.C. The reason was there was this huge drumming circle in Meridian Park in Washington, D.C. Sometimes it would be like 100 drummers there. And they were there every Sunday, and they wore beautiful costumes, and they were colorful people, and I would sketch them individually, and then I would those 3 drummers, they were actually like 100 drummers there, but I picked out 3, and I put them together and made that painting. It's actually drawing, made that big drawing. It's a composite of many, many sketches, and I took many sketches and created that piece. It showed that, it showed like they were having so much fun. But they do get into brawls. One drummer was a really bad drummer, and they want to kick this guy out. And one of the musicians went up there and told him, "You got to get out of here. Either that or we're going to start a fight right now." And he threatened to beat the guy up. And the guy doing the threatening was a little guy. And the guy doing messing up on the drumming was a big black guy, and he was really mad. I thought, wow, this looks really bad. And then everybody ganged up on the guy and said, "You gotta leave." Because the little guy led the charge against this guy. The guy left, and I thought, wow, this is fun here. It's a process where I have lots of good memories, and it was so much fun to paint. And I don't mind working on all these sketches to make this one painting. And I've done many single person, or at least 2, but not composed like that. That's a made up thing. You can't see that. They weren't even sitting together. I got a degree in physics, and it seems strange that I did art almost all my life. But the physics helped me. It made me very analytical. So I study, look at what other artists do, and I analyze it. I analyze the color, the composition, and I wasn't sure what the terms are or what they did, but I analyzed it in my own mind, figured out what they were doing, and then I used that analytical skill to develop what I could do. And that happened in Ridgecrest. But when I went to Michigan, I was always taking my son to a swim practice, and I drove by Eastern Michigan University every day. I looked at that sign, and I says, maybe I should learn art like artists, like real artists. So I went and talked to them and got my degree in Master of Fine Art, Master in Studio Art, and I learned a lot there. And they sort of set me straight on, this is how we do it, and so I used that, and I used my analytical skill. I became a very odd student there because I always had these funny questions that they never they never thought about it. And I would make comments. I would know why, certain things. Like in a class, they were talking, and they were saying, they would talk about architecture in this class and why all these cathedrals were built a certain way in France and why they're different in Italy. And I look at that and I say, oh, I know why, because the temperature's different, and they can't put all these stained glass into Italian cathedrals. And so they have to build it differently because of weather and what the land is like, I would be analytical about things, and they were talking things in terms of art, aesthetics, how it looks and stuff, and I would inject these technical ideas into it, and I would inject technical ideas into my painting. Like when I used to paint in the snow a long time ago, when I didn't mind the cold, I would actually put methanol in my water. I could do watercolor in the snow. So I thought, well, I could do that. I could do this and that. And I would come up with these ideas, and it was my technical background that helps me do art. But I did use my physics skills, because I raised my kids mostly. I was the mother for the kids, and I would teach them things, and I would drive my kids around, and I would use little ways of teaching them technical things, and my kids both became technical people. One's a computer scientist and one's a physicist, and so it's useful. And my daughter always thought I was stupid till she got much older, but she never needed my help in school. But my son, when he was a swimmer, he didn't have time to study physics enough. He didn't realize it takes a lot of work to get a degree in physics, but he did it, and he would come to me and ask me questions, and I would remember and help him with his physics homework. And eventually, he got past it, and he loved physics, and he knows way more than I ever did, of course, because he got a PhD in physics. So I did use my degree, and I used it in a really good way. I raised my kids with it. One thing that happened all my life was that my art seems to have changed. And when I have a show, people tell me, oh, you changed. And they're continually surprised that I changed slowly and continuously. And I actually don't think about it. I have a plan. I was going to go into acrylic and oil, and I set up my studio to do that, and my new art agent said no. He said, I want watercolor, so I do watercolor, but I do the watercolor a little differently, so it changes, but I have my plan was changed, so I don't worry about how it's changing, or I do think about how to, what new things I like to try, and I want to do these things, but I let the market forces also shape me, because I need to sell my paintings to keep painting. So it's a two-way thing. It's what I want and what the customer wants, and it's the customer actually gets more say, because I need to have people like my art, and if nobody likes it, I'm not going to do it. I always stuck to two-dimensional art, because the whole reason to paint and draw is go outdoors and go hiking and painting and go exploring. And two-dimensional art, like drawings and paintings, and especially sketching in various mediums, it fits that desire. So I never thought much about three-dimensional art, because I want to go hiking. I want to go backpacking. I want to go camping. And I want to go visit cities and meet people and do things quickly and have a good time. I'm out to entertain myself.